The New York Times wrote an article on February 15th entitled "Tea Party Lights Fuse for Rebellion on Right." The article has created quite a stir at Fox News. Want to know why? Here's a sampling. Urged on by conservative commentators, waves of newly minted activists are turning to once obscure books and websites and discovering a set of ideas long dismissed as the preserve of conspiracy theorists. Interviews conducted across the country over several months show. In this view, Mr. Obama and many of his predecessors, including George W. Bush, have deliberately undermined the Constitution and free enterprise for the benefit of a shadowy international network of wealthy elites. If you don't believe me that Fox News is nervous about this article, listen to this man lie about it.
In a front-page article today, the paper put forth that Tea Party people are primarily extremists. They lump in the John Birch Society, the Patriot Movement, Friends for Liberty, and other groups that are on the fringe. The Times also attempts to link Fox News to Tea Party extremists.
Bill, that's what's known as a lie. What the New York Times actually said is this: these people are part of a significant undercurrent within the Tea Party movement that has less in common with the Republican Party than with the Patriot Movement, a brand of politics historically associated with libertarians, militia groups, anti-immigration advocates, and those who argue for the abolition of the Federal Reserve. Of course, the emphasis here is significant undercurrent, which is not the same thing as saying primarily. Get it, Bill?
No central authority. Every Tea Party group is different. There's no party platform other than disenchantment with big government. With that kind of structure, you can expect chaos and some extremism, which the liberal media will use to attack the Tea Party in general. So many Americans simply oppose those things. And you're not an extremist if you do so. You're a concerned citizen. But if you threaten violence, if you traffic in racism, if you call the president a communist, those are extremist positions.
Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Tonight, American communists are celebrating under the new era under President Obama. His leaders' efforts. Their fearless leader, Comrade Obama, has even promised the noble workers that he supports our bill. Yes, comrades, the greatest Trojan horse we've conceived might still work after all, but we must stay vigilant. Some capitalists are trying to save their failed state by thwarting the fearless leader's efforts.
Now, we can laugh at all of this, Bill O'Reilly being a hypocrite, Glenn Beck being a clown, but there's a serious side to this. As Bill stated, the New York Times tied these extremists to Fox News, and if you think crackpot Glenn Beck is the only problem, check this video out.
The United States government has been engaged in a covert war against the very same ideals I defend right here every day. A war against your freedoms, a war against your civil liberties, and a war to discredit the Constitution. The Bush administration, with the help of the Patriot Acts, there were 3 of them, attacked your civil liberties. The Obama administration, with the help of TARP, attacked your financial liberties. Slowly but surely, our freedoms are slipping away. So what's next? Would you believe martial law? Well, believe it or not, my next guest says martial law is already here. Joining me now is Gary Barnett, author of Martial Law in America, No Longer Just a Possibility. Gary, welcome back to Freedom Watch.
Oh yeah, welcome back. Now, the Fox News fanboys will shout on cue, this clip is proof of the network's fairness and balance. Both Bush and Obama are criticized. However, the only time Fox News criticizes Bush or his fellow Republicans is if they aren't conservative enough. The Tea Party movement Fox News cheerleads is well right of mainstream Republicans. But with Gary D. Barnett, we're taking a step, or yet even further to the right of that, to the Patriot Movement, the stuff the New York Times was warning us about. O'Reilly claims they're a fringe, yet here's Judge Napalitano face-hugging one of their opinion leaders.
Curfews in place, disallowed buying of alcohol, disallowed carrying a gun or selling a weapon. All these kind of things are going on. There's many more examples.
Don't we have federal judges, state judges, who are faithful to the Constitution?
Well, if we do, I don't see many of them around. And given what this new executive order from Obama, 13528, I think was the number, establishing this Council of Governors, I wrote about this in the article, basically sets up a federal government, state government partnership so that the military, and this is the entire military, whether it be National Guard, reserves, active duty, NORTHCOM, joins these folks with the states and allowing to come into play for civil unrest or any emergency of any kind that the government deems.
I would like to think that members of the military would be faithful to the Constitution. Question: would members of the military be faithful to the Constitution rather than comply with unlawful orders from dictatorial bodies such as the one you're talking about that the president is trying to set up?
I wish I could say yes. I think there would be certain individuals that might stand up for liberty or the Constitution, but I think in total, no. I think soldiers follow orders. The Bush legislation that changed the Insurrection Act, that was supposedly repealed by Leahy's bill back in 08. But what they changed it, or what they brought forth at that time, was the National Defense Authorization Act. And if you look at that act, of course, it's 602 pages and almost impossible to read. But that sets up, under Title 18, that sets up a requirement for the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the Chairman of Joint Chiefs, NORTHCOM, National Guard, reserves, everything,
right,
to respond to any natural disaster, act of terrorism, nuclear, biological, chemical, explosives, animal disease, or what have you.
What would the government of Montana do? Now, I live in New Jersey, which is the most densely populated, highly taxed, overregulated state in the Union. You live in an area where there is a lot more freedom, and there are even people in the government who agree with you and me and the framers on the nature of our human liberties as being a part of our humanity. Question: what would the government of the state of Montana do if the feds tried to come in and suppress human liberty and normal human activity? Would they resist, or would they go along with it?
Now, the first thing that came to mind was if there's a nuclear attack, a scenario they brought up. In my area, what am I going to do if the feds send in the military to help? Accept it, or run out in the streets as an armed mob to fight them? In general, when I hear the Tea Party or Patriot Movement crowd crow about violations of the Constitution, I wonder why they don't take their case to court, since they have such a slam dunk case. Oh, I know. Like everything in America, the courts are liberal, despite us having a right-of-center nation. So what's he talking about here? Well, the Defense Appropriations Act of 2008 is just that. The Pentagon's huge wad of pork. Gary doesn't understand it, but he's paranoid about it. He outs the ominous Title 18. Title 18 is nothing more than the section dealing with the National Guard. If you read Gary's blog post, he specifically refers to Section 1822, which leads, in turn, to Executive Order 13528. What's going on here is simply a bipartisan Board of Governors is being set up to foster better coordination of the National Guard in times of crisis. This sort of stuff sends Fox News and their Patriot Movement buddies into a frenzy of governmental resistance. Personally, I don't see the problem. Now, I don't have a lot of time, so I encourage you to Google or Bing Gary D. Barnett Archives. That's Gary D. Barnett Archives. Read some of his stuff. I'll provide you with a few choice quotes, then let you go.